As the other speakers noted, I'm not an expert either, and I don't claim to be, but I can tell you what I've learned. To clarify some of the muddy waters about evacuation and blast zones, it's true that we don't have good figures for 42-inch pipelines on explosion rates and distances because we haven't had one explode. There are only, I think, 2 42-inch pipes in the ground right now, so we don't have experience with them that large, but we do know the percentage of volume is almost double that of a 30-inch. So because of the calculations, so that the effect would be much greater than a smaller pipeline. But anyway, the evacuation zone figure of 2 miles comes from West Virginia Homeland Security, a conversation that Kevin Campbell had with them probably about a year ago, when they stated that it was 2 miles from the center of the pipeline. But you can reduce that to 1 if that makes you feel any better. It doesn't really make me feel better. The blast zone, though, is the distance where you would have the initial fireball if there were a leak and an ignition creating an explosion. And then beyond that, there's also a burn radius from the heat. And we've seen examples of these things where, an initial area gets burned to cinders, and then beyond that, a house got its siding melted from the heat on that. That was an explosion in, I think it was Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, a few months back. Just yesterday, there was an explosion of a 30-inch pipeline, might have been a 36 actually, in near Houston, Texas, that was felt for 60 miles. That's a 60-mile radius. And it was visible from 150 miles away, the fire. So this is why we think that it's not wise to place this pipeline so close to homes and schools, high consequence areas where large numbers of people congregate. And also the concern over placing it close to critical infrastructure such as the state police barracks. Not only the main barracks building, but they have an additional administrative building that's also within 500 feet of the pipeline route. And those are critical infrastructure which are not supposed to be within an evacuation zone on the pipeline. So before you, I know that that Mr. Hardesty on behalf of Dominion has asked you all to consider writing a letter in favor of the pipeline to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, but before you do, I think you should consider all the facts that you've heard today. And I brought you some reports also to read, which I will leave with you to give you more information. And also be aware that several other county commissions have given a negative review and a no vote on it for their communities. I think Monroe County is one that did that county commission wise. There are also problems with the draft environmental impact statement, which just came out. There are people reviewing that and finding errors and omissions and incomplete surveys and pieces of information. The letter from City Engineer Jay Holland about the fact that this pipeline will cross the Buchanan River and its tributaries 9 times has not been addressed by the company. So that's the type of thing that, you tell them there's a problem and then they don't address it. And it's true, there's a huge, the file is 2,000 pages, so there's a huge amount of things to consider. There's more than just environmental aspects, and it takes teams of people, and I know it costs a lot of money to do that. It takes a lot of time and a lot of manpower. So that's why we really do need to press that it be done correctly, because this is our one shot to do this right. So talking about jobs and development, I just would like to briefly contrast the figures that Brandy quoted from the Chamorro report are available on the Dominion website. That report was commissioned by Dominion, and those figures are correct. So in contrast to those, in 2015, the U.S. solar industry grew by 20% for the 3rd year in a row, according to National Solar Foundation's National Solar Job Census. By the end of 2015, it employed nearly 209,000 solar workers, more than oil and gas were employed. That's 77% more people. And you can compare that to 250,000 layoffs last year in oil and gas. So 1 out of 50 new jobs was created in solar in 2016, and we expect that to continue. The solar prospectuses of the various think tanks are talking about it's increasing. Of course, the price is going way, way down, and so it's more available to more people. And it does provide jobs, safe, clean, sustainable long-term jobs, as does energy efficiency retrofitting, you know, doing your windows and, you know, insulating and changing out your bulbs to LEDs, which I've done with all of the bulbs in my house. Last time I was here, you asked me if I had been, you know, done anything in terms of energy efficiency, and the answer is yes, I have, and yes, I will. But so just another point or two, and I'll be finished. Did you have any questions at this point? So, in light of the explosion and the economic costs, there's another point I'd like to make, which is somebody's got to pay for this project, and it turns out that the ratepayers are going to be on the line to pay for this in the form of increased rates or lower, I can't remember the rest of that. Ratepayers will pay the cost of the pipeline, while the companies invested will receive up to a 14% rate of return. This is a resolution and by the FERC, so that companies that invest in gas pipeline infrastructure receive a guaranteed rate of return. And this guaranteed rate of return is up to 14%. So it's good business to put a pipeline in the ground because it makes money for the company. We also know that this pipeline connects to the Transco line, which is a system of pipelines. I believe there's 6 pipelines in the ground going up and down the East Coast, which are bi-directional, and they do connect to the Cove Point LNG export facility, which is owned by Dominion. So it's good for them. Because of this and the outlook for the future of gas and the future of alternative energies competing with gas, the prices of energy are going to rise because as they ship it overseas and sell it on the world market, the price goes to what the market will bear, and therefore our prices will rise. So those are just a few considerations aside from the safety and others. The draft environmental impact statement is available online, and I will send you a link. You can start by reading the initial 782-page document, and then there are several appendices. The easy way to get through it is to use your Control F and look for something, some aspect that you're really curious about, and you can find all the instances of that in the document, so it's an easy way to get through it. And then I have these reports that have been prepared by Synapse Energy out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, IEFA, the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis, and Keylog Economics. These are about the costs, the economic costs of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, the risks associated with gas development in Appalachia, and a question of whether these pipelines are really needed. Before I go away, I'll just give you a really quick overview of the economic costs for a 4-county area. Now, this was a study that was commissioned and paid for by community groups, so they couldn't do every county on the line. They just could do what they had money to pay for. This is for 4 counties in Virginia, because West Virginia hasn't been able to do this yet, money-wise. So the baseline property value at risk in the right-of-way is $277 million. In the evacuation zone is $1.13 billion. Near the compressor station is $4.9 million. In the view shed, that's what you can see, and of course the pipeline is going to affect the view shed in several places, such as the Appalachian Trail. 7.44 billion. The total property value loss then is 55.8 to $80.2 million. And the resulting loss in property tax revenue, and that's because if you have a pipeline on your property or even close to it, even if you're just in a butter, you could lose the ability to sell your house again because of the dangers. The resulting loss in property tax revenue annually to these counties would be between $281,000 and $408,000. The lost ecosystem service value, so that's what we get from the environment, water and air purification, recreational benefits, and others. So we gotta think tourism, we gotta think long-term development. Over the 2-year construction period is between $16.9 and $61 million, and annually for the life of the ACP is between 4.9 and 17.8 million. That's each year. Lost economic opportunities due to erosion. Annual loss of recreation tourism expenditures, $41.3 million that supports 387 jobs and $7.4 million in payroll, and generates 1.8 million in state and 1.3 million in local taxes. Annual loss of personal income of 6.6 million due to slower growth in the number of retirees. Annual loss of personal income of $1.6 million due to slower growth in sole proprietorships. And one-time cost, property value, and ecosystem services during construction would total between 72 and 141 million. Annual costs would range from 96 to 109 million. So I'm going to give you guys a copy of these, and you can have fun with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
You too.
I'd like to thank everyone, Ocean Dominion, Brandy, Mr. Chauvin, Kyle, April. I mean, it's nice to have a community conversation about, these sort of things. I know not everybody's agreeing with each other, but it's nice to hear all sides.
We just want you to make an informed decision based on what's ethical and best for the community. It's not about what you want or what I want or he wants. It's about what's best for everybody.
Thank you.
And I was actually going to ask you, I don't know how many votes you guys received to be in your position, but what if we brought you enough signatures, either pro or against the pipeline with that many votes? Or the number of votes that you received? The number of people in the community? To see if they are for or against the pipeline.
If you want to put the legwork in on that, I mean, I would be curious about the information, absolutely.
How many votes did you receive?
I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly.
Well, that may be unfair because only 50% of Upshur County voted, but
Isn't that sad?
yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, would that help you make a decision?
All information helps me make a
Okay. Just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.